had already had engagements with FIU prior to this appointment. I participated in a lovely conference that was put together by a fellow colleague, Nick Jelpy, and I presented a project, Sabana Grande Boulevard, which was a competition I won in Caracas and was built. It's a mile-long pedestrian boulevard in the kind of core of the city. And that was a beautiful experience, and I got to know a bit of FIU and other faculty members. And then moving forward, research that I did with the Wheelwright Prize from Harvard allowed me to travel to several cities in Latin America, and I basically focused on upgrade projects or other kinds of projects in informal settlements or barrios. And that first had an iteration which was an exhibition, and I first presented in Caracas, then in Toronto, and then at FIU actually. So the exhibition was called Pure Space, and years later, it finally became a publication with the same name that came out in 2020. So when the new appointment for the Wilsonian Public Humanities Lab / Department of Architecture became a reality, because the institution had been created and this had been the way it was conceived, I was nudged and asked if I would be interested in applying for that position, given the kind of work that I've been doing, which is heavily focused on territorial inequality and social aspects, let's say, of the built environment. And so I did, and I was chosen for the position. I do find that this convergence of architecture with humanities is a huge asset, and has the benefit that I'm kind of at the beginning of this story and can influence the way it ends up unraveling. So that's always very exciting and a big temptation. And then after all these years of practice in Venezuela, which, as I said, started in 2007, so going on year 15 now, I nonetheless have always had a license as an architect in the United States. And for strange and funny reasons, that license has always been in Florida. So I am a licensed architect in this state, and thought that it could be an opportunity to begin a practice here as well, which has proven to be the case. I do have a few projects that are at their beginning stages, but also this work that I mentioned previously with the 6 communities in South Florida through the Mellon Fellowship and through the work of my students has revealed so many opportunities of fascinating projects to engage with folks here in the community. So just to give you an example, at the opening at the Hampton House, I spoke and stayed with Dr. Pinkney for a while, conversing, and she told me about her, I mean, she's a force, obviously, but her engagement with the commemoration of the cemetery in Lemon City, now mostly part of Little Haiti, and her dismay that she found out later on there were names through her research that she's found that are not reflected on this memorial, and she's adamant about finding a path to getting those names on the memorial. And so after she mentioned twice that she needed an architect, and she mentioned it again, I kind of picked up the hint and I said, well, I'm an architect, I'd love to support you with that. So last week I drove over to see the space as it exists today, and we'll have a meeting soon with her to look into what does she have in mind, and how might I be able to support her there. And in a similar way, the DJ Ravi is his last name. He's the president of the Martin Luther King Economic Development Center in Liberty City. So we're putting up the exhibition now of the students' work there, but in just a few minutes of conversation with them, I realized that there was so much that either as part of the Wolfsonian and FIU, I could bring to the table in terms of their efforts with affordable housing, negotiations that they conduct with developers interested in working in Liberty City. There's a path there to explore for sure. Same with another amazing woman, Carolyn Donaldson, who's in West Grove, and she also has work that she does in Allapattah. So we've supported her with grants that she's applied for to get funding to expand, some of the organizations, institutions that she's a part of. So I think being in Miami has many positive aspects to it, both professionally and academically.